Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of This Week in Irish History. I'm Dan Murphy. With me today is our senior editor, Lou Somogyi. Today we're going to take you back 30 years in history to 1983 to the second week in September when Notre Dame opened up against Purdue. Notre Dame came into that year as the number 5 team in the country, picked by Sporting News as the number 1 team in the country, and started off the season in a really strong way for the Irish, Lou.
You know, it's kind of funny. You look at Notre Dame defeated Purdue 52-6 in that opener at Ross-Ade Stadium, which has always been a house of horrors for Notre Dame. You know, even Eric Parsegian lost 3 straight, and Notre Dame had a 2-game losing streak in Ross-Ade. And to open up with the most points scored ever in Ross-Ade Stadium, 52-6 with that, Notre Dame was immediately projected to face Nebraska in the national title game after week 1. And Nebraska eventually did get there. Notre Dame ended up losing 5 games. But what's interesting compared to the Temple game, Notre Dame gave up only 6 points, just like last week against Temple, but it gave up 418 yards of total offense.
Pretty
just like, you know,
last week.
Yeah, 362 against Temple. And so there's a lot of hand-wringing about that. It's like, geez, you just can't keep giving up that way because sooner or later teams are going to catch up with that. And guess what? The next week Notre Dame lost at home to a rebuilding Michigan State under a first-year coach, George Perolis.
Right, and that was kind of maybe one of the better moments of the Jerry Faust era. There wasn't a whole lot of great seasons with him.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why Sporting News actually did pick Notre Dame number 1 was they thought the schedule was very favorable, but it was Jerry's 3rd year, and you know the magic that happens in 3rd years for coaches at Notre Dame. But you know, that was again one of those situations where you kind of had fool's gold in that opener. So in that sense, you know, to win just 28-6 last week where there are still enough question marks lingering, that might be a good thing going into Michigan.
And then 52 points, obviously must have been a couple big days that day. Who were some of the top offensive performers that you remember from that game?
Oh my gosh, well, Blair Keel was the senior quarterback, and he came out 9 of 14, 166 yards. Mark Bavaro made his first career start at tight end, caught a touchdown pass. Greg Bell, first-round draft pick from, this would be in '84. That would be the following spring. He scored 4 touchdowns. Alan Pinkett was just a sophomore, ran for 115 yards. And, of course, he became a cult figure right away, the freshman in his first appearance. Hiawatha Francisco from Moeller High School, 81 yards on 9 carries in a reserve role. And I think everyone already had him pegged as the perfect Heisman candidate with the name and everything else like that. So sometimes you can take a little too much from an opener. But another comparison, they, I believe, played 12 freshmen in that opener, which had been a Notre Dame, I think it's the second most. In 2003 they played 14, but last week they played 10 against Temple.
So what was the feeling going into that second week? How high was their confidence, and was it a big knockdown for them to lose the second
my
game?
gosh, well, like I said, I mean, the chatter already was about purchasing your Orange Bowl tickets to face Nebraska, which at that time had one of the great teams in college football history. It's Turner Gill and Mike Rozier and so many others. Dean Steinkuhler and Dave Remington was the center of the Remington Award and everything. So the conversation already was about, you know, looking ahead to that. And, you know, lo and behold, the next week it lose. Notre Dame was an 18-point favorite against Michigan State that following week and ended up losing 28-23. And there was just that feeling right there, gosh, here we go again.
So that was 30 years ago today. Notre Dame heads down to Purdue next week to take on the Boilermakers in another game that Irish are expected to win big. That's going to do it for this week of This Week in Irish History. Join us every week during the regular season where we'll take you back in time and we'll add a little bit of context to your Notre Dame football.